Let's catch up with what's going on in the city of Newnan. Here's what happened at the June 17th, 2025 City Council meeting.
The agenda included 20 items. The first two items on the agenda were the approval of the minutes from the May 27th City Council meeting and work session. Both items were unanimously approved by the City Council. Council then announced two amendments to the agenda. First, an item regarding an amendment to the Historic Residential Design Overlay to include the Rocky Hill and Chalk Level districts. And second, a resolution to recognize the Newnan High School baseball team. Council voted unanimously to add the two items to the new business section of the agenda. The next 7 items were appointments to city boards and commissions. Councilmember Cynthia Jenkins nominated Alicia Bohannon to Keep Newnan Beautiful, Christy Franklin to the Tree and Parks Commission, and Cynthia Culbreth to the Youth Activities Commission. Councilmember Rhodes Shell nominated Michael Colpoys to the Convention Center Authority. In an off-agenda appointment, Councilmember Paul Guillaume nominated Elizabeth Williams to the Cultural Arts Commission. All appointments were unanimously approved. Mayor Keith Brady postponed his appointment to the Cultural Arts Commission to the next meeting. Councilmember Jenkins also postponed her 2 appointments of the Ethics Commission, and Councilmember Shell postponed his appointment of Keep Newnan Beautiful to the next meeting. In item J, a public hearing was held for an application for an alcohol beverage license by Japanek Frank Hibachi and Sushi LLC for their new business at 31 Market Square Road, Suite E. No one spoke for or against the application, and council unanimously approved. The next item was a consideration to amend and restate the finance fee agreement between the City of Newnan and Atlanta Gas Light Company. A franchise fee in this particular case is a fee that Atlanta Gas Light Company pays the City of Newnan to hold non-exclusive rights to repair, renew, construct, and extend the city's public gas and light properties. The city has held a franchise fee agreement with Atlanta Gas Light Company since May 20th, 1968, and the last amendment to the agreement was in October 1998. The franchise fee is paid to the city quarterly, and the fee is not a set amount. The current fee total is calculated by an equation multiplying the franchise fee factor, which is currently set at $29.25, multiplied by the number of decatherms, the unit of energy needed to heat 1 million pounds of water by 1 degree Fahrenheit, individually used by the city at the end of the fiscal year, multiplied by the percent change in the cost of service determined by the Georgia Public Service Commission. Council unanimously approved the updated franchise fee agreement. Next, Council voted on a consideration of resolutions for the qualifying period and election superintendent for the general election on November 4th, 2025. This year, elections will be held for 3 positions on the City Council. The post for District 2A, currently held by Councilmember Rhodes Shell, District 2B, currently held by Councilmember Ray DeBose, and the position of Mayor, currently held by Mayor Keith Brady. Councilmember DeBose announced in the April 15th, 2025 council meeting that he will not be running for re-election. The resolution before council stated that qualifying times for all 3 posts will be held between 8:30 a.m. on Monday, August 18th, 2025, and 4:30 p.m. on Wednesday, August 20th, 2025, from the Newnan City Hall hours of operation from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., with an hour lunch break for the city clerk being permitted. Candidates who wish to qualify need to file a notice with City Clerk Megan Shea and pay the qualifying fee. The qualifying fee for the council member posts is $165 and $300 for the mayoral post. If the fee is a financial burden, it may be discussed with the city clerk while filing notice for qualification. See the official code of Georgia annotated sections 21-2-224 or 131, 131A, and 132 for more information regarding election timing and fees. The other resolution before council was deciding whom shall act as election superintendent, as defined by OCGA section 21-2-70. The resolution stated that the Coweta County Board of Elections shall be appointed. Council unanimously approved both resolutions. Next, council voted on a consideration for a special referendum election to be held on November 4th, 2025 in the general election, and the appointment of the election superintendent for the special referendum. The resolution before council stated that a vote would occur in the general election on November 4th, 2025 regarding the property tax homestead exemption. A homestead property, in the case of the City of Newnan, is a property within City of Newnan limits in which the owner of the home is also a permanent resident. A homestead tax exemption is an exemption applied for by homeowners from paying a percentage of county and school taxes, excepting for school taxes levied by municipalities. The amount of the exemption is determined by a base year evaluated by the property's assessed value by county tax assessors. Every year the property value increases, the exemption increases, keeping the assessed value from the stated base year. The ballot of the special referendum reads, "Shall the act be approved which provides a homestead exemption from City of Newnan ad valorem taxes for municipal purposes in an amount equal to the amount by which the current year assessed value of a homestead exceeds the base year assessed value of such homestead?" Voting yes on the ballot means that you would support making the 2026 assessed value of homestead properties the base year of the property tax homestead exemption within the City of Newnan. Voting no on the ballot means you would support remaining within the floating property tax homestead exemption provisions as specified in Georgia House Bill 581. Which went into effect January 1st, 2025. See the details in the description below. Again, the other resolution before council was deciding who shall act as election superintendent as defined by OCGA section 21-2-70. The resolution stated that the Coweta County Board of Elections be appointed. Council unanimously approved both resolutions. The next item was the first of council's amendments to the agenda. This item was a request from Councilmember Jenkins to have city staff come back to council with an amendment to the City of Newnan Historic Residential Design Overlay to include the Rocky Hill and Chalk Level districts. The Historic Residential Design Overlay is a set of regulations on design and aesthetic changes to communities in Newnan that are designated as historic districts. Rocky Hill and Chalk Level are currently not classified as historic districts recognized by the National Registry, but they are both in the process of becoming recognized. And adding these districts to the Historic Residential Design Overlay would allow these districts to keep a certificate of historical appropriateness by making sure that any new construction or reservations to properties in the districts remain aesthetically in line with the district's history. Councilmember Dustin Karitko inquired about the purpose of adding these districts to the Historic Residential Design Overlay. Councilmember Jenkins responded by saying that, just like all the other historic districts in Newnan, it is about maintaining historic preservation in our community. Council unanimously approved. The second of Council's amendments to the agenda included a resolution to recognize the Newnan High School varsity baseball team, the Cougars, for winning the 2025 state championship, noting that the city of Newnan will host a community celebration for the team on Thursday, July 10th at 5 p.m. at Greenville Street Park. Council unanimously approved. In the February 25, 2025 City Council meeting, Council approved an amendment to the Code of Ordinances Chapter 3 to allow for the regulation of sale and possession of distilled spirits and the defining of manufacturing of distilled spirits, malt beverages, and wine. To coincide with the changes to the Code of Ordinances, the Planning Commission proposed new verbiage to simplify City of Newnan zoning ordinances for alcoholic beverage manufacturing. The current zoning ordinances classifies categories between types of beverages they create and micro versions of the same. They have distinctly different zoning in which they are allowed to produce. The amendment before Council simplifies this by making all alcoholic beverage manufacturers only distinct by the volume of product they create. A Class 1 manufacturer would be defined as creating 15,000 barrels or less a year, and Class 2 would be defined as more than 15,000 barrels a year. No one spoke for or against the text amendment. Council unanimously approved both the recommendation of the Planning Commission, which was to accept the text amendment, and the text amendment. Item O involved a public hearing regarding the council-initiated annexation of 423 Jefferson Street. The property was an unincorporated island, meaning the tract was located within Coweta County's jurisdiction, but completely surrounded by city limits. Back in 2025, the property owner's representative requested connection to the City of Newnan's sewage system due to a failing septic tank. In order to receive service, the owner agreed to the property being annexed. The property was also identified as one of several unincorporated islands Council discussed potentially annexing at their March 13, 2025 meeting. Coweta County did not object to the annexation request sent to them by the City of Newnan, and the Planning Commission recommended the annexation with an RU7, Urban Residential Single Family Dwelling, High Density District, zoning designation after their public hearing. At the City Council's public hearing, no one spoke for or against the annexation or the rezoning. Council voted unanimously to approve the annexation and the RU7 zoning. Mayor Brady then recused himself from the next two items since, as a real estate agent, he has business relationships with individuals involved. Councilmember Jim Thomason, acting as Mayor Pro Tem, proceeded to run the meeting. Next, item P was a public hearing regarding a rezoning effort from Templar Development Group LLC for the purpose of building a residential community of townhomes, triplexes, and duplexes. Between 145 and 153 Temple Avenue is a parcel of land that nearly reaches the north of Forest Lane, which they wish to rezone from CUN, Urban Neighborhood Commercial District, to PDR, Planned Development Residential. Templar Development Group LLC has brought this rezoning request before Council before, but in January they withdrew their application because the original application read that they wanted to build 29 housing units when they wanted to build 32. The change would have required new planning strategies that the Planning Commission and Council would need to reconsider. So between March and May 2025, Templar Development Group LLC resubmitted their application and held a public hearing on May 13th, 2025 at the Planning Commission meeting, where the Planning Commission meeting recommended Council accept the application for rezoning with 6 conditions made by city staff. 1, that the project remain consistent with the data supplied in the project application. 2, that the project will have no more than 32 units. 3, only 3 of the 32 units can be rental properties. 4, the development shall comply with the submitted concept plan. 5, the mixed dwelling types will stay consistent with the renderings submitted. And 6, the development will include a walking trail. Councilmember Guillaume inquired about the amount of parking in front of each home if there was also a parking lot at the end of the proposed street in the community. The representative for Templar Development Group LLC said there was only 1 parking space at each residence based on the amount of space available in their designs. Councilmember Jenkins inquired about the responsibility of the maintenance of the parking lot at the end of the proposed street. The representative stated that it would be the responsibility of the community's proposed homeowners association, HOA. Councilmember Thomason also inquired about parking and asked if there's only 1 parking space per residence and people park on the street in front of a residence on both sides of the street, would large emergency vehicles like a fire truck be able to fit down the street? The representative confirmed that the Newnan Fire Department reviewed the plans and had no adverse comments regarding the street width. Councilmember Redabose inquired about light infiltration into the community from the Temple Avenue Recreation Park. The representative stated that the light from the park wasn't considered due to it being far enough away from the community, about a quarter mile. Councilmember Jenkins inquired about who holds responsibility of maintaining the on-street parking. The representative confirmed that the city would be responsible for the on-street parking, not the HOA. Councilmember Karitko inquired if there would be any signage limiting parking so as to not impede emergency vehicles. City Attorney Brad Sears said that signage limiting parking would normally come as a recommendation from the Newnan Police Department if needed, which would then come before council for approval. Councilmember Karitko then asked if it was something that needed consideration in the moment, to which city staff said that it was something that they would consider in the site development stages of the project. A neighbor of the proposed community inquired about how wildlife would be affected by the development and how people might be deterred from entering her property line from the parking lot at the end of the proposed street and the walking trails through the end of the community. The representative said that the walking trails would remain within the community, and that there was a publicly owned buffer between her property and the parking lot. He also stated that a significant portion of the undeveloped area will remain intact so as to hopefully not affect the wildlife population. Council unanimously approved both the recommendation of the Planning Commission and the rezoning with conditions stated previously by city staff. Next, item Q was a public hearing regarding a rezoning effort from WP South Acquisitions LLC for the purpose of developing the properties into a mixture of multifamily homes, retail, restaurant, and office spaces. 521 and 531 Newnan Crossing Boulevard, zoned as CCS Community Shopping Center, was requested to be zoned as MXD, Mixed Use Development, to develop 7 townhomes, 274 multifamily apartments, and 7,700 square feet of commercial space, with residential apartments costing between $1,500 to $2,750 a month. See the complete layout in the agenda packet link in the description below. The first public hearing regarding this rezoning was held at the May 13th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting, where they recommended council not accept this rezoning request. City staff recommended that if council does approve the rezoning application, that WP South Acquisitions LLC meet 2 conditions. 1, that the project remain consistent with the data supplied in the project application, and 2, a note that any approvals of the rezoning master plan does not relieve the applicant from requirements of Newnan's tree preservation and landscape ordinance. The applicant proffered the following conditions. 1, that the applicant shall apply for building the retail space at the same time as the permit for building the multifamily housing units. 2, the building height be 65 feet high. 3, any and all documents involving the conditions of the landscape and exterior works must be used in the development of this project. Councilmember DuBose inquired about the retention pond in the design of the project, wondering about placing it underground to allow for more spread out parking and a recreation area. A representative of WP South Acquisitions LLC explained that the single parking bay and a renovated retention pond allows the area to keep a balance of retail space and residential community. Removing the pond and adding more parking would make the space feel more like a retail district rather than a residential area. Councilmember DuBose then inquired of city landscape architect and arborist Mike Furbish if the designs of the retention pond are consistent with city standards. Mr. Furbish expressed acceptance of the design elements. Another representative of WP South Acquisitions LLC expressed that the retention pond was a useful feature of the project that resembles a park. Council voted unanimously to accept the recommendation of the Planning Commission into the record. Councilmember Jenkins then expressed concern regarding the affordability of housing in Newnan, stating that the average amount of income earned in Newnan isn't enough to be able to afford apartments like the ones proposed. Councilmember Thomason then expressed that it may not be an affordable project, but it is an exciting opportunity for Newnan, having had an opportunity to tour the complex proposed. He then expressed that he's aware of the sentiment in Newnan that the city needs to stop building apartments, but that the ratio of homes to apartments in Newnan has grown in favor of single-family homes in the last 10 years.
We actually have more homes per apartments today than we did 15 years ago. So if that comes up at a party, you can just answer that question if you want to.
Councilmember DuBose then expressed that council shouldn't deny WP South Acquisitions LLC this rezoning request just because they've been able to create apartments with higher monthly rents with success, and that the city should look into finding developers who build affordable housing if more affordable rental properties are desired. Councilmember Thompson agreed. Council approved the rezoning request in a 4-2 vote with council members Jenkins and Karitko dissenting. Council then went into executive session where they discussed the final item regarding 57 East Broad Street to discuss real estate and legal. Executive session is a portion of the meeting allowed by the state government for local governments to discuss items pertaining to already owned city real estate, lawsuits involving the city of Newnan, and personnel issues. After the executive session, council made 2 motions before moving on to item R. The first motion was to end the executive session. The second was to deny an insurance subrogation claim against the city of Newnan in an incident involving a city car. The final item on the agenda was a consideration of an intergovernmental agreement with the Newnan Downtown Development Authority, or DDA, regarding 57 East Broad Street. The development of 57 East Broad Street, a property owned by the city of Newnan, has been an ongoing conversation with city council. The city has no plans to develop the property in-house, but would like to see it developed. Being a city entity, and not a real estate firm, the city government cannot sell the property outright by making deals with private entities. A property owned by the city of Newnan can only be sold through closed bids, meaning a call for interested parties to reach out with final options, a public auction, or a legal authority under the state law of Georgia to handle the selling of the property. The Newnan Downtown Development Authority, being a legal authority recognized by the state government of Georgia under the Official Code of Georgia annotated section 36-42-1, can make those kinds of real estate deals. This agreement would transfer authority of 57 East Broad Street to the DDA to allow progress to be made in developing the property and determining the sale price. Council unanimously voted to take no action at this time on this item, meaning that it could come back to council at any time.
Thank you for being here and engaging with your local government. The next City Council meeting will be held on July 22nd at 6:30 p.m. For more information, visit the City of Newnan website, newnanga.gov, and follow us on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Nextdoor, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Thank you very much. See you next time.